I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there are people who are claiming that Teslas have the ability to detect spirits. Now, a story came out that there are several Tesla owners who claim that when they drive in a cemetery at night, their car can sense spirits. And actually, on their little dash, there is some sort of detection if a person is near the vehicle. And when they go through the cemetery, they see people walking around when there's absolutely no one there. Now, there was one particular story that came out with a Tesla owner. This young man got a Tesla 3 years ago, and every night he would go and pick up his girlfriend. He would park right in her driveway. She lived in this very old farmhouse, and he would sit out there and wait for her. So one night he was sitting in his car, and he had some music on. And that's when he looks down at the little screen, and he sees there's a person in front of his vehicle. Except when he looks out the window, there's no one there. And not only is there a person in front of his vehicle, he said it was really weird. It only had one leg. He's like, well, it must be a glitch in the system. So this happened, on a couple more occasions. And even one night he gets out of his vehicle and he goes in front where it's showing this person is. And when he puts his hand right in this area, it's ice cold. So he said one night he was talking to his girlfriend, and she goes on to tell him that, yeah, the house we live in, it was passed down from my grandfather. And he was in, like a combine accident, which took one of his legs. And so he only had one leg. And that's when it all clicked to him that he was seeing that one-legged person on the screen.
So this man that tells this story says that he's seen some wild things in his life, but there's always an explanation. But what happened to him, his brother, and his dad when he was a kid cannot be explained, because what they saw was something like out of a science fiction movie. He didn't want to give his exact location away, but he said that his family had just moved into this old house southwest of Houston, Texas. Their house was on the edge of town, and they had a huge backyard. There was a 6-foot-tall wooden privacy fence that divided them and the neighbors on the one side, and then a 4.5-foot-tall chain link fence that ran along the 3 other sides of the property. He and his brother shared a bedroom that was an old converted sunroom on the back of the house that looked out onto the backyard. It had floor-to-ceiling windows all along that back wall looking out into the backyard. There wasn't many options for where to put the bed since it was a converted sunroom, so his head of his bed was against the walls facing the backyard, and his brother's bed was directly the opposite with his headboard on the other wall facing him. So when the brother's on his bed, he's looking out, he can see the backyard. He said one night they stayed up late and they were sitting on their beds just talking about random things, and all of a sudden his brother got really quiet to the point where he thought his brother had fallen asleep. But then he hears his brother whisper in a shaky voice, but he couldn't make out what he said. So he's like, what? And his brother tries to speak again. And he's like, what? Speak up. I can't hear you. And his brother forced out a whisper, don't move and be quiet. But he's thinking he's probably pranking him or something. So he whips around and turns to look out that window, and he is met face to face with a creature that looks like a dog, nose pressed up to the glass. They were pretty much nose to nose staring at each other. He said this thing was enormous, and he just let out the loudest scream. He said it wasn't his proudest moment, but he was absolutely terrified. So this thing ducks under the window, ran to the side of the yard, leaped over the 4.5-foot tall chain link fence, and disappeared into the darkness. So the dad runs into the bedroom, and the mom is not far behind. And when they get there, he explains that there was something looking at them through the window. So the dad goes and grabs his pew-pew from the bedroom and goes out the side door to see what's going on. He comes back inside because he doesn't see anything, and they say, you're probably just had a nightmare. And the brother wasn't any help because he was closed and would not speak, would not say that he had seen anything. So at this point, they don't want to sleep in the bedroom. They wanted to go sleep in the living room, but the parents are writing it off as knock it off, go to bed. So as they are forced to be in their bedroom with the floor to ceiling windows, they are laying there rattled, just terrified. They are both sharing the brother's bed at this point because they are just so scared, and their backs are to the other wall, so they are facing out and they have a clear shot of the backyard. They said after a while, this creature approached the property again. It was so huge that its shoulder blades were the same height as the 4.5-foot tall chain link fence. It sniffs up along the property line and then effortlessly just hops over and is now in the backyard. And now it approaches the glass window again of their bedroom, and it's got its nose pressed up against just like it did before. And these boys are freaking out. So at this point, they're like, F this, and they go to jump out of the bed. And then all of a sudden, there's a huge bang and a flash of light. And this thing gets knocked sideways out of the view of the window. So then this thing comes back into view and it's running down the length of the huge backyard. It leaps up over the chain link fence and clears the back alley behind it and lands into the neighbor's yard in the back. He said it is at least a 15 to 20 foot jump minimum. And this thing cleared it like it was nothing. And then they see their dad with pew pew in hand run across, come through the side door and slam it behind him. He's screaming, "We gotta go, pack your bags." And they get up, go and stay at a hotel for the night. And the mother refuses to believe that they all saw what they said they saw. Their dad was so rattled that he said, "We're moving immediately." Like he didn't even want to go back to the house. He just wanted to get out of there forever. But his wife wouldn't have it. So eventually, about 6 months later, after persistence with the dad not wanting to be there anymore, they do end up moving. He says these are the coastal plains regions of Texas. There are no huge canines like that. Like they might have some stray dogs or coyotes, but nothing that huge. And come to think of it, I don't think anything that huge as a canine is supposed to even exist anywhere. But their dad swears that he hit that thing from 15 feet away with a slug from his pew pew, and it hit him right under the arm in the ribs. I mean, that thing should have been annihilated, but it just effortlessly ran up the yard and leapt into the distance. And get this, the dad said that what was the creepiest thing about it was when it initially jumped the fence to get into the yard, it, while crouched, crept over to the window on its hind legs. He watched it walk up to the window on 2 legs, and then he said it stretched out to make itself taller to peer into the window, and its body looked all wrong. Like it was supposed to be a dog kind of thing, but it was just totally different than any other canine animal he's ever seen. He describes it as almost seeming like a stocky person wearing a dog's suit, but he could tell it wasn't a suit. Like this thing was a real being. He also said that when he saw it approach the property the first time, when it was supposed to be sniffing and circling around, its eyes were locked on the window as though it were waiting for an opportune moment, like sniffing, pretending to sniff around the ground, all while being locked on the true prize inside the room. Almost like it was kind of waiting to see if anything was going to come at it before it decided to go and get what it wanted. He said that they've had dogs their whole lives, and everything about what this creature was doing was just all wrong. Later on, the dad did tell them that what gave it away, what made him believe there was really something out there to make him grab his pew pew and sort of keep a lookout, was the look on the brother's face, how pale he was. Like that was not like him to act like that. Like he had absolutely seen something that terrified him. So that dad was prepared and ready, looking outside, thinking initially maybe there's just some creeper out there, like some person, but thank God he did stare out that window until he saw this thing come back, because who knows what could have happened if he hadn't been there to scare it off. This is one of the creepiest ones, I feel like, for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What could that have been? If you have your own creepy story time, anything similar, please email it to the email in my bio. And if you haven't yet, please follow for more creepy story time.
You guys want to hear a story about a girl who got an attachment, and every time she saw the attachment, it would literally decompose in front of her, and then she would get violently ill, and then it started tormenting her family? Okay, sit down. So when Molly was 15 years old, she was leaving a friend's house. They had been hanging out, and the other friend had been, and she was just watching over the friend. She decided that she was going to go home, though. She lived between a few abandoned buildings and an extremely large graveyard. She was maybe about 6 blocks from her apartment when she walked past this old, forgotten mechanic shop. Now, the garage door was usually closed when she would walk past this, but this day it was open. But, of course, being the curious person that she was, she peeks inside, and she sees this old, rundown yellow buggy. But there was this man in a blue jumpsuit standing by it, and for some reason, this made her feel really nauseous. So she's like, F this, I'm getting out of here. She turns around, she starts walking away, but every time she turns around, this man is behind her. Now, he is never more than 10 feet behind her, so she decides to run. She starts running, and she looks behind her again, and he's still behind her. She continues to run even more. She keeps looking behind her, and he's still behind her. But the weird thing about this is every time she would turn around, it's not like he was chasing after her. He would just be standing there watching her. So he was somehow getting to her and then stopping before she would turn around and just stand there and watch her. So she wasn't really sure how he was moving, right? Well, she finally gets to her house and she runs into her house and she just slams the door and she locks it and she runs up to her brother's room and she tells her brother, like, look, this man is following me. I'm freaked out right now. So he's like, bet. So he looks out the window and the man is just standing in the street, standing there watching them. Well, over the next few days, she got extremely ill. And then a span of a few days after that, it got really bad. So one day she's walking into her kitchen and she's just standing in her kitchen when suddenly she hears this man's voice go, "Hey!" right outside the window of her kitchen. She screamed so loud that her father actually came running out of her parents' room and was like, what the hell is going on? And all she could muster out was, there's a man outside. So her father goes and looks, there's nobody there. Well, a few hours later, she gets this horrible, severe fever. Now, she says at this point that she thinks that she's hallucinating because the next thing that she saw was absolutely horrifying. So she just goes into her bedroom and she's just chilling. She doesn't feel good, right? When suddenly she sees what she thinks is her dad peek around the corner. She says, "Are you okay?" And she gets no response. So of course she gets up and she walks into the hallway. And what she thought was her father was absolutely not her father, but that man standing in her hallway. His skin was decayed and it was melting over his eyes and he had bloody scabs all over his face. And his hair was falling out and he was just standing there watching her. She said that she just stood there horrified. She blinks and he's gone. Somehow she brushes this off. No idea how she did this, but she's a G, because she goes to bed, she falls asleep, and the next morning she has bruises all over her legs and arms. She said that they were full-blown handprints. So she tells her mom and dad about it, but they just blow it off like it's nothing. Her brother, on the other hand, did take this seriously. He believed her, and he actually took her to the doctor, and the doctor was like, we have no idea how this happened, how there's bruises and handprints all over your body, unless somebody did this to you. And she's like, nobody did this to me. I don't know what happened. So she just goes home after this. Well, the next day, she's in her brother's room just chilling with her brother when they hear a knock on the door. Assuming it was their parents, they just both said, "Come in." Nothing. No one answered. And then the doorknob just slowly starts to twist. It opens up and in walks that man. And again, he is decayed everywhere. And she said that she has never heard her brother scream before, and her brother full-blown screamed. So she knows at this point that she's not hallucinating because her brother is now seeing it too. Now, a few years go by and they actually don't see or hear from this man until she turns around 18 years old and she moves out of her house. Now, she now lives in an entirely different county, city, and she has a roommate. And she's in the middle of telling her roommate about this entity, about this thing, when suddenly they hear the garage door open. She said that this did not make sense because everybody was home, so her and her roommate are just sitting there like, who just opened the garage door? When suddenly that man walks into the room that they are in, except for this time, he looks so much more decayed, it's horrifying. So her and her roommate are just sitting there frozen in fear, staring at this thing, when it just turns around and walks out of the door. Not even 20 minutes later, they hear her roommate's mom scream at the top of her lungs. So they both freak out and they run upstairs to see what's going on with his mom. They get up into her room. She comes walking out horrified and she's covered in blood. And there's a puddle of on her floor and a puddle of in her bathroom, and it's come from nowhere. Nobody is injured, nobody is hurt, there is just blood everywhere. She said that this blood was fresh and that apparently his mom had just woken up in it, and all covered in blood and seen it everywhere. Now, a week after this happened, Molly actually moved out of that house and she didn't see him again, but her aunt saw him in her house. Apparently her aunt knows how to perform rituals to get rid of these types of things, because her aunt, after seeing him, apparently banished him somehow with some type of ritual or spell, and she has not seen him since. She's 21 now and she has only had one other odd interaction with a spirit, but she said that is an entirely different story. So what did you guys think about that story? First of all, I want to say the beginning of the story, you said, I'm going to speak to you directly. You said this story is really long. I'm sorry, but it's scary. I love long stories. And at the end, you didn't tell us how your aunt banished it. I'm assuming because you thought the story was too long and you were trying to wrap it up, because you literally said, I'm trying to wrap it up. Don't ever do that, you guys. I love long stories. I want all the details. Those of you who have emailed me know that I will email you back and ask for more details. So don't ever leave them out, because that's the best. But this story was absolutely terrifying to me. I mean, to see something just just decaying every time you see it. It's just more and more decayed. I really wonder what this was. I wonder if this was a spirit that didn't know it was unalived and that it maybe needed help crossing over, or if this was something evil that was trying to scare them. And it's so weird how she got the attachment just from looking into that garage, you know? That is, and how did she get sick? Why did she get sick? That is another thing that makes me think it may have been evil because of the way that her body reacted to it. But I want to know what your thoughts are. So drop all your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions in the comments. But as always, please be respectful. Thank you for sending me your story. I appreciate it. And by the way, you guys, I know that I did not post for 2 days. I am so sorry. I am so slammed with work right now. It's not even funny because of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But I did tell my agency that I need to make you guys a priority and that I cannot go 2 days without posting again. I love you guys. This channel means way more to me than my job, believe it or not. And you guys mean more to me than my job. So I will not be going 2 days without posting again. I apologize for that. I missed you guys so much. But with that being said, we're now going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Alyssa Nicole 89, you left the sweetest comment. Thank you so much. I love that I'm your favorite spooky storyteller, and I love that you love my stories so much. That means so much to me, girl. You have no idea. When I read that comment, I just smiled. I love you guys so much. You have no idea. This is why I miss you guys, because of people like you. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you for being so kind. Thank you for what you said. It truly means so much to me, and I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope to see more of you in my comments. Girly, I love you. Williams Galvin 509, you left the best comment. Thank you so much for what you said. You have no idea how much that means to me because I work so hard on these stories, and so I just smiled when I saw that. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for commenting and pushing my videos out. Thank you for your kind words. I truly hope you know how much I appreciate you, and I hope to see more of you. I love you. Oh, and to both of you, thank you so much for being a spooky baby. It means so much to me. Do you guys love how I have nails on one hand and not on the other because my life is so crazy right now that I don't have time to do it? God. Okay, with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me or recommend to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories and recommendations. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
One of my favorite hobbies is reading scary stories on Reddit, so let's read some together. When I was about 14, my parents left me alone overnight for the first time. I grew up in a small farming community, so my parents really had nothing to worry about. They left and I decided to take an awesome bubble bath and paint my nails like all girls everywhere, obviously. While I was in the bath, I heard our back door open. I thought I was hearing things, and besides, I had locked all the doors per my mom's orders. But then I heard the kitchen floor squeaky spot. I didn't know what to do, so I just went under the bubbles and left my head out. I saw 2 shoes through the crack between the door and the floor. I could hear a person breathing. They stood there for about 30 seconds and then walked away. I heard the door slam, but I didn't move. I just stayed there until the water was freezing and cried. Then I got out, called my grandma, and checked the doors. The back door was unlocked and the lock hadn't been messed with or broken. Later that week, we learned that a man was breaking into farmhouses. Literally one of my worst fears, like anytime I'm taking a bath or a shower, I always feel like I hear somebody breaking into my house. I just moved into a basement suite. Every time I went out, I would lock the deadbolt, but not the door handle. But when I came home, a lot of the time the deadbolt would be unlocked and the door handle would be locked. At first, I thought I was just confused about which one I had locked, so I started paying more attention. It kept happening, and I realized someone must be going in when I went out. I assumed it was the landlady and was annoyed, but didn't say anything at first. Then one day I came home and found the wrong lock locked again. I went in pissed off and opened the fridge to get something to eat. There was a book in the fridge that I had never seen before. I collected old books, and this one was published in the early 1900s, which creeped me out completely because it was like it had been left for me. I finally called my landlady and asked if she was going into my apartment and told her what had happened. She freaked out, said the last person who lived there was a really creepy guy with a mental health and drug problems. She got all the locks changed that day, and it never happened again. So I guess the guy who lived there before was breaking into her apartment. He still had like a key. This happened to a friend of mine. It's a Sunday. She comes home to her apartment from running errands around 1 p.m. She was in med school at this time, so she pretty much parked herself at the kitchen table and studied for the next 5 to 6 hours. She's sitting there and looks up to see a dude casually stroll out of her bedroom. No other entrances. She's sitting by the front door. So he's been there the entire time she's been home. He pauses at the doorway to her kitchen between her and the door. She basically froze. Then her phone rang and kind of startled both of them. She ran to get the phone and he ran out the door. She moved and got an enormous dog. He was in her apartment the whole time. I used to live by myself in an apartment, and that was like my biggest fear. Every time I would come home, I would check my entire apartment before like I would allow myself to get comfortable, because I was always scared that there was like somebody like hiding under my bed or something. When I was younger, my dad was out of town and my mom let me have a few friends over. We lived right by a pretty busy highway, and over the years had quite a few people knock on our door for help. Like their car broke down, they were lost, accident, etc. While my mom was home with us, a man knocked saying he wanted to borrow the phone. My mother told him he could sit on the porch and use her cell phone. The man kept asking to come inside and asking if my dad was home. He eventually started trying to force his way inside. My mom slammed and locked the door, called 911, and put my friends and I into a closet. It took the police department 20 plus minutes to reach us. By that time, my mom had called our neighbor, and he came over with his shotgun and made the guy lay on the ground until the police arrived. Why do the police always be taking so long? My mom was kidnapped, blindfolded, taken to a dark place she still isn't sure was even a man-made structure, and then tied to a chair. The guy that took her kept talking to her the entire time. She has never told me details except that the man was crazy. After a while, she started talking to him, asking him questions, getting him to talk to her about less crazy stuff. She isn't sure how long this went on, just that it was a long time. After quite some time, the man, whom she never saw directly or recognized the voice of, told her, "I don't know why, but I need to let you go." My guess is that she humanized herself enough to him so that he couldn't go through with whatever it was he had initially kidnapped her for. He loaded her back up into the car, dropped her off, still blindfolded, at a convenience store up the road from where she lived, told her to count to 1,000 before taking the blindfold off, then he left. After she got home and told her parents, they didn't believe her and thought she was making it up so that she wouldn't get in trouble for being out too late. I've always thought that like if I was kidnapped or something, I would try to like humanize myself. I think I saw that on an episode of like Grey's Anatomy or something.
Do not play pinky pinky. If they're like me and I tell them not to do something, they're gonna want to do play pinky pinky. After the story I'm about to tell you, you're just not gonna want to play it either way, so just wait. So this guy says that the story he's about to share is what made him believe in the paranormal. So when this took place, he was 10 years old and his older brother Victor was 12. He explains how his family was really religious. They would go to church in their town, and that both him and his brother were altar boys. So this took place in Mexico, and when this happened, there was 2 days left for this really big celebration they were having in the town. This only happened once a year, and he tried to explain it almost like a carnival kind of thing, where they would bring rides and people would be selling food, like that type of situation. He said that there was a ride that he really loved that was called the kangaroo, where it would like spin in circles and then jump up and down. That specific day, his grandma had called him to bring some stuff over to the temple, and while he was on his way, he comes across his brother and his friends playing something near that carnival area. He goes up to them and asks what they were doing, and one of his brother's friends tells them that they're playing pinky pinky. They explained to him that it was like the game Charlie but with a coin. So if you don't know what Charlie is, it's basically with pencils, and you ask questions and the pencils will either go to yes or no, kind of like a Ouija board kind of game. Yeah, a game you don't want to be playing, yeah, like that. So on a Mexican coin, it has a eagle, and on the other side there's a stamp, and they explain to him that they're flipping the coin, and if it lands on the eagle it means yes, and if it lands on the stamp it means no. He asked if he could play the game, and his older brother told him no because you're a scaredy cat, but he insisted on on playing the game with them. His older brother was like, fine, whatever, but if you get scared, I don't want to hear about it. They explained to him that in order to start the game, you have to flip the coin and ask Pinky if you could play the game. He does it, and it lands on the eagle side, which means yes, you can play the game. All the boys looked at him like in shock because they had been trying to enter the game, and that was the first time where the coin landed on the eagle right away. Red flag. Red fucking flag. He just giggled and thought, hey, maybe I have good luck with this game. So they've been playing for a while, asking silly questions, and he doesn't know why, but he decided to ask the following question to Pinky. Pinky, will I be having an accident anytime soon? The coin landed on the eagle side, which meant yes. He then asked, will it be on a trampoline? And the coin landed on the stamp, which meant no. Will the accident be on one of the mechanical rides? And the coin landed on eagle, which meant yes. And then with a lot of fear in him, he asked, will I die from this accident? And the coin landed on stamp, which meant no. Will this be a very serious accident? Would I have to go to the hospital? And the coin lands on eagle, which means yes. Everybody stayed quiet, everybody stayed in shock, and that's the moment that they decided they didn't want to play the game any further. In order to leave the game, you have to ask Pinky, can I leave the game? And everyone did that. First try, it went on eagle. They said yes, except for him. He asked once, he asked twice, he asked so many times if he can leave the game, and it would land on the stamp, which meant no every time. They got really scared that it kept saying no. They just ended up stopping, running to the temple, and him and his brother decided to bury that coin in the grounds of the temple, being that it was blessed. He ends up giving the grandmother the stuff that they were waiting for, and everybody just ends up going back home. He admits that he completely forgot about the game, and it was 2 days later when the festival and the temple thing was about to start, and he was really excited because he knew his mom was going to buy him pizza, toys, and let him ride any of the rides he wanted to. He was really excited because he wanted to go ride the kangaroo, so as soon as they got there, him and his brother went to get on the kangaroo ride. They tied him up by the waist by this chain, they put down the little thing to strap in, and the song started playing, which is one of his favorite songs. That's why he really liked that ride. So everything was going great. They were going up and down and spinning, but that was also the moment where he was looking at the guy who was in charge of the ride, and it seemed like something was wrong, like he didn't have control of the ride anymore. He explains that there was a lever that just popped off, and that's when the ride was spinning harder, going up and down harder, and everything just went out of control. That's also when he heard his older brother say, hey, hold on to the bars, the chains got loose, they ripped apart. He explains that his older brother had better control because he was able to put his foot on the bar and hold on to it, but he didn't get the time to do the same thing. He closed his eyes and held onto the bar. He could no longer hold on with his legs either, but that was the moment where he felt a really bad hit on the back of his head, and everything just went dark. He explains that he didn't feel like he was falling after like losing consciousness. He felt like he was floating, but it was in a really dark space. That's also the moment where he started to hear a laughter, a kind of laughter that was almost mocking him. Started off with one laughter, and then two, and then it was almost as if it was a room full of people laughing at him. That's also the moment where he sees something. It looked like a shadow, but it had like a person's body, but the head of a goat, and it almost looked like it was smiling at him. He doesn't understand if it was just because he was unconscious or like if he really did see this. Obviously he was out of it, but it was weird that this is what he was seeing in the midst of everything happening. Then out of nowhere he felt another hit on his head, and that's the moment where he wakes up in real life. When he comes to, he opens his eyes and he notices that the ride completely has stopped. He is very much injured, and there is this random man trying to get him off the ride. He had blood coming out of his mouth, and there is a cut on his leg that was bleeding a lot. They laid him down next to like a place that was selling food, and they were calling an ambulance, but the ambulance never got there. The son of the owner of the ride that had just malfunctioned basically took them all to the hospital. He just remembers on the way there that he felt really sleepy, like he felt like he wanted to go to sleep really bad, but he could hear his brother telling him, hey, don't go to sleep, do not close your eyes, don't go to sleep. He admits that while his brother was telling him don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep, he started to hear these laughters again, you know, the laughters that were mocking him, making fun of him. He could hear these laughters like if they were in the car with them going to the hospital. Once they got to the hospital, they put him in a bed and he went into one of those rooms. That's when he finally stopped listening to any of the laughters that he had been hearing. He woke back up when they were doing the stitches on that really big cut that he had on his leg. Till this day, he still has that scar on his leg. He never saw that person with the goat head ever again, but obviously he will never forget what those laughter sounded like. So by this point, time has passed, years has passed, and his brother said something to him that honestly made him more scared about the whole entire situation. That night when he had that accident on that ride, his brother tells him that he also saw a guy with a goat head and a whole bunch of laughters around them. The fucked up part of this was that he had never shared with his brother or anybody what he had seen when the accident happened and the laughters that he was hearing. Even though his brother had told him, his brother Victor was like, hey, I saw something, I heard laughter, he still didn't tell him what happened. 3 years after his brother said that is when he was like, look, I also saw this thing, I also heard the laughters. So the fact that his brother heard and saw the same thing he did without him even telling a soul about it is so fucking scary. He admits that after that accident he has had a couple of weird things happen to him, but nothing that extreme. He still believes that whatever or whoever Pinky is still around them now. He says that somebody had slept in his bedroom and that when they got up in the morning they told him that they had really bad sleep paralysis in his room, that they couldn't move, they couldn't talk, and they could only see a shadow in the room with them. Mind you, this happened 2 months ago. He says that that's the moment where he realizes that even though they buried that coin in blessed ground, whatever portal they opened while playing that game has not closed and is still there with them. But what do you guys think?
Here is a horror story that happened to me and my best friend. If you don't believe in paranormal activity, just scroll because I'm not going to argue with you guys in the comments. So basically, for a little bit of background information, every single time my best friend comes over, no matter the weather or anything, we usually watch a scary movie and then go for a walk. Don't ask why, that's just what we like to do, and usually there's like Taco Bell or some food in there too, but that's just what we do. We were like, let's go for a walk. Now, where we chose to go for a walk might have been where the part where we messed up, but we always go back here. Like, I go back here with my other friends. Like, usually it's fine. I've had 1 or 2 experiences back there, but that's for another time. Basically, it's like houses lined up, and behind their house and behind their backyard is like a small pathway where you can walk. And the pathway leads to train tracks and like a park. It's not even like a park. It just has swings and this huge slide. That's it. So I think it's like dead summer, and we immediately walk outside and a huge cold breeze just smacks me in the face. And I specifically remember that because right after that, I just got this bad like tension in my body that I didn't like at all. And I kind of like brushed it off just because I wanted to go for a walk. Like, I was bored. So like I didn't say anything, but she was feeling the same exact thing. And I figured that out after this happened. So maybe we both should have just spoke up, but whatever. Since we were both feeling a little like scared and, you know, tensed up, Aubrey started telling me a story, and I don't know what it was about. I think it was like this girl stealing someone's boyfriend. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but the most important part is when she was telling the story, she specifically said they were saying this girl had a weird face. And I don't know if this was actually what happened, but in my head, she kept repeating it. She kept saying, this girl had a really weird face. Again, I don't know if she was actually repeating that or if that's just the thing that stuck out to me. But in my head, she said that 10 times. She was just like, she had such a weird looking face. Like, Megan, it looks so weird. It's like, I don't know. That's just like the only thing I remember her saying. And then she said something about like it looking like disformed. And I was like, all right, okay, let's stop. I was like, all right, let's stop, because I got this god awful looking scary girl in my head and I could not get it out. Specifically remember a huge ass cold breeze smacking my face again, and that's when I was like, oh my fucking god, my body like tensed up. I got like the chills, and I wanted to say, Aubrey, we need to turn back, we need to go back. Like, something in my head was saying, go back, go back, go back, go back. And we kept walking. Just because sometimes I don't know if it's just because I'm being a pussy or if it's my body actually telling me go the fuck back. So I was like, okay, maybe you're just scared, keep walking. So we kept walking. Okay, I'm getting kind of scared because my room's in the basement and like the door's right there. I don't like, it's like too quiet right now. It's okay. we're walking and we hear 2 branches crack behind us. And I'm like, I shoot my head back and I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, yeah. I was like, it's fine, Aubrey, just keep walking. So we keep walking and we hear more movement behind us, not trees like or branches cracking, like more like just like movement, like kind of like bushes moving. And I was like, bro, do you hear that or am I tripping? And she's like, no, I hear it, Megan. So I'm like, okay, whatever, just stay calm. And then it happened the 3rd time and we bolted. Like, we didn't even see anything at this time. We just ran, right? Aubrey was a little ahead of me because the thing is like anytime anything like this happens, I like when everyone's in front of me just so I can like make sure everyone's there. And right behind Aubrey, and you guys saying this, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but you please believe me because I'm not lying. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, not lying. And I was almost throwing up and crying after this, like, genuinely. So standing behind Aubrey, well, chasing Aubrey actually, is this tall black man with a long stretched out face. He didn't really have a face. He just had like a long mouth and like long eyes, kind of like that, all black body. And he was like hovering over Aubrey because it's like he was right there. He could have like got Aubrey if he wanted to. But he was just like kind of pacing, like this was Aubrey and this was him, and he was just like kind of pacing with her, if that makes sense. And I'm just like running, like I'm running basically next to it, and I'm just like looking up at it. Like I didn't say anything, like I didn't. So we get to one of like the houses, because like I said, we're a pathway behind houses. So we come out where we can like kind of run out in one of their front yards, if that makes sense. So we get there and I like put my hands on my knees like this and I'm breathing heavy and I'm crying, and Aubrey's like, Megan, what was that? What the fuck was that? And I'm like I can't breathe because I don't think she saw it. If I'm wrong, Aubrey, correct me in the comments. I don't think she saw it, but I'm out of breath, like crying, and I'm like, Aubrey, I'm gonna throw up. I can't catch my breath. And she's like trying to hold me and like walk me down the court, because basically I live on courts, and so we were trying to get to the end to get like to the main thing, if that makes sense. If you guys want me to, I can like always pull up a map and explain it, but that's like, I don't know. And so we're walking, and I'm not even joking. You can tell. I'm just looking back every single second. I'm like, I'm not joking. I tell Aubrey, you look forward, I'll look back, because we need to make sure like that wasn't someone real. Even though deep down, I knew it wasn't, because he was right there. He was literally right there. I just heard something on my door. No one better try to scare me right now, because I will actually fucking kill someone. I'm actually scared. And thinking back to this, oh my god, now I'm hearing shit. We got back and I'm like crying, and I don't even know what we do. Oh yeah, we come in my room. We sit down still out of breath. And then that's when we kind of like calm down a little, because you know, we're in my room, we're safe. But we're still like looking around my room, like we don't want to leave my room. Like it was just so bad. I don't know, but whatever it is, we haven't gone back since. So, yeah. But thanks for watching my story time, guys. If you guys want more, comment, because I have so many more, because stuff has happened in my house, at other people's houses, around my house, and yeah, so love you guys, bye.
Как у тебя дела? Всех уже победил?
Типа того.
Кушать не хочешь?
Не хочу.
Okay, so y'all, I saw this post that basically says that the Vampire Diaries is actually based on a true story, and it reminded me of the time my boyfriend broke up with me, so I booked a flight to Spain, and I met this girl. So, I arrived in the beautiful city of Malaga, walking around, romanticizing my depression, and I decided to go to a tapa bar, to get drunk, of course, and I meet this girl named Sophia. Now, Sophia was really cool. She was like from a village in Eastern Europe or something like that, and one thing leads to another, and we start having really weird conversations. So she's into like astrology, and we're talking about reincarnation and like woo-woo stuff like that, and out of nowhere, she's like, my grandma thinks that vampires are real. And I'm like, tell me everything. And she tells me a story about this man in her hometown who apparently lives in like this really old house. And he's lived there since her grandma was a kid, and he's never aged. Sophia said that apparently this guy looks like he was about 40 years old, but Sophia's grandmother said that he had looked 40 years old since she was Sophia's age. Now at this point, we're getting pretty drunk, and Sophia is like, yeah, I met him. And the weirdest thing happened. She said she shook his hand one time and she felt like all of the energy literally left her body. So she went home and told her grandma, and basically her grandma told her that he is a vampire, stay away from him, and vampires that suck on blood aren't real, but the vampires who feed on your energy are. So I drunkenly stumble back to my Airbnb, and I cannot get this story out of my head. So what do? I do what I do best. I start doing research. And my research led me to this guy, Count of Saint Germain. This man is fucking weird. Let's talk about it. So as you can see, this is a real person. He is a European aristocrat. He was a diplomat, a composer, an alchemist, you name it. But here's the kicker. People would meet him like decades apart from each other and he never aged. Some people say that he even lived over a century and he never changed. His energy, his looks, nothing ever changed. So they got me thinking, is the random man in Sophia's village and this guy connected? Do they like know the same secrets? I don't know. I did more research. And I found out what this guy and the guy that Sophia told me about might have tapped into. So I fell into this rabbit hole of real life psychic vampires. And basically, these vampires feed on what could be called many different things. Energy, prana, chai, sorry. And they draw this energy from crowds, from sex, from emotion. And in a sense, they develop this cheap kind of energy that doesn't require sleep or food, or calories. They just take it from others. Real life energy vampires. And I found out that vampires throughout the centuries are actually more aligned with this version than the ones that like suck your blood. And yeah, that's the story. Imagine being stuck on this earth forever. Ew.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go.
As you know. No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Holiday Horror Stories. Today we have a spooky holiday horror story featuring my practical magic shirt. This one was at Easter, but I swear that there was a lot of dark crap going on. My grandpa was 1 out of 4 children. Him and his brother were the last 2 living siblings. Sometime around 2013, his final living brother passed away. That year, my grandpa and grandma hosted Easter at their house. Now, we've had dinners there ever since I was little. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and sometimes Easter. My grandma would always cook. She was the best. I know everyone thinks that, but I mean, she's an amazing cook. Usually it was just my grandparents, my dad, whoever he's with at the time, my uncle, his wife, and all of his grandkids. There's 6 of us grandkids, and at that time there was just 1 great grandkid, my niece. This Easter dinner was different though. It was all of us plus my grandpa's extended family, from his siblings, kids, living wives, and so on. There was a lot of people. My grandparents live in a double wide trailer, and it isn't one of those huge fancy ones. It's an older model and it's shorter, but it's always been nice and clean. They do have a dining room separate from the kitchen though. As my grandma is finishing up cooking and laying everything out on the table, like she always did, the men are all watching a game or racing on the TV. The kids were playing in the yard and everyone's visiting. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the ceiling right above the dining room table is covered in bugs. I mean, thousands of bugs. They're dropping all over the food and are gathered mostly in one spot on the ceiling above the table. Just imagine a white ceiling with an imperfect circle of just black and globs of that black falling off onto the food. That's disgusting and weird as fuck. There was no cracks in the ceiling, no vents near, no windows or doors open. There weren't even bugs flying around or anywhere else in the house. It literally seemed like they came out of nowhere. I'm not sure who noticed at first, but my dad and I noticed and head to the dining room. I remember my grandpa turning around from his recliner, looking, standing up, and coming to help my dad and I clean up and save what food that we could. I wouldn't save nothing. I ain't touching none of that. Yucky. I get it. But at the same time, thousands of bugs just falling on. Didn't really say anything, but he never talked much. My grandma, though, bless her heart, she was panicking. I know she was so embarrassed. And like I said, she's an amazing cook, so she was particular with how she does things in the kitchen. But this, it was wild. I feel very bad for Grandma. I know that she busted her ass on that. But we don't need to eat that food. We don't need to touch that food. Call an exterminator and a priest. You know what I mean? Would we consider priest exterminators too? Whether it be your uncle trying to send you a warning or someone brought some crazy shit with them, it was definitely something with the extra people. It had to be. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have a story that you want to submit, you can do so on the link tree in my profile under Holiday Horror Story. It can be a spooky story like this on a holiday, just as long as it's holiday themed. You know what I mean? Or it can be the festive family drama that we have been reading as of late. I'll see y'all the next episode.
Have you ever seen a person give up and abandon everything? Like on a random day, he was like, nah, you know what? I'm done with this shit. Screw this. He basically decided to rage quit. Well, if he didn't, let me tell you that there is a whole village that did this. Yes, a whole village full of people out of nowhere went like, okay, let's disappear. And if you're wondering how's that even possible, well, you need to listen to this story. It all started with this guy right here whose name was Joe. You see, Joe was a guy who lived a long time ago, okay? We're talking 20th century. And unlike you, he was not unemployed. He was a skilled trapper and a fur trader. Another way to say it, he sends animals to heaven so he can make clothes. So one day, Joe decided to travel to North Canada to see how the business is going there. So he packed his stuff and he was heading to a place called the Angikuni Lake, where he knew that there was a village so he can sell. So after probably days of walking, Joe finally made it to the Angikuni Lake where there's the village. So here he was so excited, he was like, yeah, let's go, we're about to sell some stuff. You see, to his surprise, when he finally made it to the village, not a single individual, not a single human was there. So here, normally, Joe was confused. He was like, whoa, hold on. I know this village, there's supposed to be people. What the f going on? He decided to walk a little bit to see if the villagers were grouped somewhere else, but no, nothing. Yes, the villagers disappeared just like that. And you know what's interesting? They left everything behind. They left their food, their clothes, their tools. I'm telling you, they left everything. There was also no trace of them leaving, you know, no footsteps, none of that. This is where Joe realized that he's not selling shit. He came here for business, he got none, so he's low-key mad. That's why when he got back to his town, he was like, okay, I swear to God, I'm telling everybody I didn't go there for nothing. So he told everyone about it. The case started getting bigger and bigger, and until this day, nobody knows where did they go. Some people say that it's aliens. Yes, they think that aliens took the villagers, and respectfully, shut the fuck up. Other people are like, nah, they were looking for food, so they decided to leave the area and migrate. Bro, they had food in front of them. Why would they leave the food in front of them to go look for other food? So yeah, people just yap and make theories, but nobody knows what truly happened.
This woman attempted to do horrible things to her stepchildren. Little did she know, though, that those kids were protected by a Haitian law. I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Tasha. So Tasha said that she had this friend. Well, ex-friend. Because after what her ex-friend told her she tried to do, Tasha says she cut her off completely. So Tasha's ex-friend was a white woman who was dating a white guy with 2 biracial daughters that he had with a Caribbean woman. They weren't together anymore, but he and the mom shared custody of the kids. And Tasha says that they were 2 beautiful little girls. Now, her ex-friend, we're gonna call her Karen. So Karen starts telling Tasha that she felt uncomfortable that her man's ex was black. And she felt like his kids were too pretty. She said every time he had the kids over, he would just spend a lot of time with them. I mean, as he should. And well, Karen started getting jealous. Then it got dark. Well, Karen said that she started to hate the kids. She admitted that she felt like she wanted to hurt them. And every single time she even thought about harming those kids, she would get violently sick. Hives, stomach flu, random pains. She would fight her man over the kids being there on their custody time. And things got so bad that eventually, Karen's man had to tell his ex-girlfriend that his new girlfriend wasn't comfortable having the children around. At the time he's telling her this, it's his custody time, not hers. Anyway, Karen told Tasha after months of hating those kids, she tried doing things to them. However, every time she tried something bad would happen to Karen's family. Her mom got sick. She got sick. Hell, she almost got into accidents. Then Karen tells Tasha that she started to dream about the children's mother. Dreams where the mother would show up and fight her. She'd wake up sore and bruised. And 1 month before a barbecue that her man was hosting, her mom and brother got into a horrible accident. Tasha went to the hospital with Karen, and Karen's family were in critical condition. And that's when everybody in the friend group started seeing a pattern. The energy around Karen was bad. And that's when everybody in the friend group started avoiding her. But then came the final straw. Another barbecue rolled around. The kid's mom had to pick up the girls from the event. Karen told Tasha that she hasn't been sleeping well because she saw shadows in her room, dreamt of being chased, covered in worms, graveyard dirt, everything. She was going through the ringer. Karen said that she woke up screaming several nights in a row. So, the day of the barbecue, she put on makeup, dressed up because she knew the kid's mom was gonna be there. Karen said that the woman came up to her, introduced herself, and they talked politely about the kids. The mom even said, I know they can be a hassle sometimes, just trying to make small talk. But Karen wanted to be petty. So she goes on to tell the woman how her man is taking her on these trips, buying her these expensive gifts, how she's so happy just to get under this woman's skin. Karen told Tasha that the kid's mom just smiled and said, That's nice. I hope he treats you better than he treated me. Then the mom turned to walk away with her kids, but looked back and said, By the way, how have you been sleeping? And Karen said a chill ran through her entire body. She lied and she said, like a baby. To which the woman said, Good. I hope you're having nothing but sweet dreams. It was nice to finally meet you. Smiled again and walked to the car. Well, Karen knew at that moment that that woman was not somebody to play with. But did Karen learn her lesson? She didn't. I'm shadow banned, so I'm forced to do part 2s. It's part 2 Tuesdays. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. Just come back for part 2. Leave a comment. I love y'all. And you can't yell at me. It's my birthday week.